We were all shocked that the Health and Human Services had, in essence, given permits. They're not actual license, but for these shops to open. But think about this. I mean, as popular as the most popular fast food you can think of, who opens 8,000 locations in less than 4 years, most of them since 2023? What business starts out at $8 billion in revenues? That works out, depending on the store, an average of about 100,000, maybe a month, $1 million per store, if you just do the math. And they used a loophole to get around a bill that the legislature passed in 2019 that we're going to address. Let me make it clear. There are lots of issues that we discuss between the Senate and the House. And sometimes you can have policy differences. And you work those differences out. This is not one of those bills. This is a bill that we have to ban THC and shut all of these stores down. And secondly, that includes THC that's being sold in liquor stores in drinks. There's no exception to this. This is a poison in our public, and we as the legislature, our number one responsibility is life and death issues, and that's why this is Senate Bill 3. I want to introduce to you the author of the bill, who is passionate about this. We'll have some from law enforcement, and then we will have some of the families that have been directly impacted by this. Senator Charles Perry. Senator?
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Appreciate y'all showing up for this today. It's important that when we know a problem, we fix a problem. I want to be clear, and for context, if you guys want to go back into your archives and look at synthetic pot, there was a group called Women Against Synthetic Pot. WASP was their acronym, and we killed K2 and Spice almost immediately. Senator Huffman and I partnered in that bill because Houston had a real problem with it. Even up in rural Texas we had it. So we're talking about synthetic pot. It's not your granddad's pot. It's not that marijuana. It's different. I'm here today for several reasons. I'm here for Jacob, 27 years old, in recovery for a year. I'm here for David, 29 years old, in psychosis today. I'm here for Grace, 29, in psychosis today. I'm here for Melody, 22, addicted. I'm here for Chad Chandler, addicted and non-responsive to communications. I'm here for Leah Flores, Jesse LeBlanc. But Leah Flores, 18 years old, depression and anxiety. Violet Lanham, 20, recovery, 10 months. James Adams, 21, recovery, 7 years. I believe it's Idet, psychosis. What you hear a lot about is this stuff's going to kids. 29, 22, 29, 22, 22, 18, 20, 21. This is changing people's life in short order because it's been marketed as something that is safe and legal, and it's anything but. The deception in this industry and what they have created and the lives they have ruined is unacceptable and unnecessary. There are a few things in the legislatures we get to do that when we see something, we can be preemptive of keeping it from going further than it already has. As the modern day philosopher of Barney Fife would say, we got to nip it, and we need to nip it in the bud, and we should have done it the last couple of sessions. But the facts are clear. This is a real problem. I'll speak a little bit to it. Profit over people is never an excuse to ignore the people. That's what you hear from the industry. We're making all this money, we're providing all these jobs. I tell you, the taxes we collect does not cover the behavioral health issues that's created in addiction that the state budgets of today have to cover. If I had been in Prohibition, we wouldn't have the budget the size that we have. That's where I'm at on this issue. This is causing problems that no amount of tax dollars is going to cover the fix. But more importantly, what is the price you put on the loss that these families have suffered and generations to come will have? This is just a few of the people I know about. I'm sure it's in the thousands across the state that are dealing with the same issues. They just don't know that we're actually trying to address the issue. It's out of control. Beverages. I hear a lot that beverages. Who in what world, whose mind in what world would conceive that if you mix drug and alcohol that the end result can be anything but bad? That doesn't end well for any people. The beverage industry doesn't realize it, or maybe they do, but the molecules act differently in THC when mixed with alcohol, and your brain is more receptive and craves more of it. So it's just as bad as the stuff that you vape or get off the shelves. It cannot be exempted from this. to the lobbyists that are supporting this. I've told them they have every right to make a living, and I don't care who they represent. I will tell you, legislatures have all the prerogative on who they talk to every session when they come back. That's not a warning, that's not a threat. It's a two-way street. People that are advocating that this okay are literally creating a situation where kids, families, and lives will be changed permanently for generations. So let your conscience be your guide. But I, as a legislature, do not have to associate myself with anybody I choose not to. Other than constituents, I always have an open door. But I'm serious about shutting this down. I'll go back to, this is in synthetic pot. I saw a survey today from one of y'all's colleagues. He has no credibility in my book anyway, but he did a poll, and I think he was talking about legitimate pot recreational use polls. Whether that's good or bad or indifferent, it is not that. It is not that animal. It is something that is synthetically made in a chemist's laboratory with no recourse or care or conscience about the impact it has. So this is not pot of yesterday. This is stuff that will change lives forever in a very negative way, and actually probably cause loss of life at the end of the day, because paranoid and schizophrenia are the attributes that are a common theme when you talk to these parents of these kids that are in this stuff. Paranoid and schizophrenia is not a good place to be, and it don't undo it. So with that, I thank you for that. We'll have some other people here to support what we're doing, but I want the message to be clear. We're serious about stopping it because of the substance that it is. And it's different than what we grew up with. It's just like a K2 or spiceria. The quality of those products is not monitored. It goes from 30% on average all the way up to 80% THC inside of it, and you don't know what that pot is being mixed with when it was put in there. A lot of these are foreign manufacturers. It doesn't matter to me where it came from. It just needs to be gone. Thank you, guys.
Yes, Greg Willis, Collin County. I'm here to just give you the perspective of a local district attorney. As district attorney, I don't just read about the impact of high-potency THC in studies. I see it firsthand. I see it in the courtroom. I see it in hospital records. I see it in shattered lives. This is not yesterday's marijuana. Daily dosing basically can make psychosis 5 times more likely. For 1 in 10 heavy users, the psychosis never lifts, and it becomes a lifetime of mental illness. One hit, one habit, and the door to schizophrenia swings wide open, never fully closing again. As has been mentioned, we've been here before, K2, spice, bath salts, every time it starts the same. A new drug slips through a loophole, gets marketed as safe, as just another option. Then comes the overdoses, the psychotic breaks, and the ruined lives. But each time Texas has acted, and Texas should act again now. This crisis isn't sudden, but it's slowly. It's slowly choking the life and vigor out of our young people. It strikes not in an instant, but it tightens day by day. Until bright minds break and go dark. Until our courtrooms fill with cases of promising futures forever cut short. Until young defendants stand before us unable to tell reality from delusion. This is not alarmism. 15% of new schizophrenia cases in young men are now linked to cannabis use disorder. How many more before we act? Senate Bill 3 is a clear and a necessary step, because if we wait, then we will be back. Only next time the cost won't be measured in percentages and studies. It will be measured in lives. Young Texans, their futures dimmed and their potential lost.
Sheriff Bill Wayburn, Tarrant County.
Thank you. Bill Wayburn, Tarrant County Sheriff. And listen, I stand here shoulder to shoulder with these guys because of the evil that is trying to be defeated. I want to make it clear that good men and women were trying to do some things when they had marijuana become a medical product. And we are not against compassionate use or medical marijuana. But what we are against is this evil that has come out of the dark room of the same place. And we need to put a stop to it. In 2017, when I became sheriff of the 3rd largest county in Texas, the population of my jail, 25% were having difficulty with mental illness. Well, something drastically has changed in Texas because here in 2025, nearly 70% of the jail population is dealing with mental illness. And I talked to the mental health workers over there, and there's no question that this marijuana is at the tip of the spear causing these issues. And guys, we've got a health crisis, a mental health crisis because of this. And if we don't put a stop to it right now, it's going to get further out of hand. We've been down here asking the legislatures for mental health beds because of what? Because of this. We've been asking to add to our mental health capacity in Tarrant County because of these things. This is clearly the evil that stands before us. And I couldn't be more proud of the Lieutenant Governor and the senators here standing today that are leading the charge against it. And law enforcement across Texas will stand shoulder to shoulder, and we will stand with them. And at the end of the day, we'll go after the bad guys that have corrupted what was meant to be a compassionate, sound medical program. Thank you all for being here, and please help us spread the word.
2 points that our first 3 speakers hit on. Number one, on the compassionate use program, we're going to expand that this session in another bill. Because again, we're not against those who need medically described help. Number 2 is we've invested over $3 billion and probably higher in putting more mental health care beds and hospitals all across the state, from Tyler to Amarillo. Brand new. We put, I believe it was $2.5 billion in our budget last session, and we continue to help upload that cost to our counties. They cannot absorb it. I mentioned earlier, I put out a video this morning. I hope all of you will get that out, because a lot of people, a lot of parents, a lot of grandparents, a lot of adults who are buying from these stores really don't know what you're hearing about today. You can save lives in the media by telling the story. This is not a political or a partisan issue. This is about saving lives. I walked into a store yesterday, the first store I walked into, just at random, and I asked him to show me the products. And he said, well, here's our one gummy that's 750 milligrams. I said, it sounds pretty strong to me. He said, well, you know, I tell them to kind of take a half a gummy, you know. People have different tolerance. Yeah, they'll get really high. And went on to say later, well, you know, they get them a lot of the gas stations too. You know, if they have a fake ID, and they laughed about it. There's nothing to laugh about. I want to bring up our folks here who have joined us. The families are impacted. If each one of you would come up, take 2 or 3 minutes, tell your story, introduce yourself. And the stories are just heart-wrenching.
Dan, where's that video?
It's on my Twitter feed. It's about 4 minutes long.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yes, ma'am.
My name is Aubrey Adams. I am Director of Citizens for a Safe and Healthy Texas, and Every Brain Matters. On behalf of all Texas families that have been harmed by synthetic THC, I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Senator Perry, and everybody who's involved in supporting this bill, SB 3. This bill will save lives. Synthetic THC products mimic everyday foods like candies to attract children. They often have sugary flavors to mask the toxic tastes. These products pose serious mental and physical health risks, including potential death. Sonia Jimenez from Houston, Texas, wishes she could be here today, but she is in deep grief for her son, Joshua. Joshua brought a product called Wedding Cake Delta 8, which caused him to have a psychotic break. The voices in his head told him to go to LA to save God's children. He was suffering. He didn't understand what was happening to his brain. And he stepped in front of a train in Pecos, Texas. He was 22 years old. Mary, from the Houston area also, is now a full-time caregiver for her adult son, who has become psychotic from synthetic THC vapes. He spends his day talking to imaginary people not sleeping, and refusing treatment. Another family whose young adult son became addicted and experienced symptoms of psychosis from synthetic THC spent $230,000 to get their son treatment out of state due to Texas' inadequate resources. And my son in Houston experienced severe illness from Delta 8 and Delta 10, struggling to eat and drink. This condition is called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome and can cause dehydration, seizures, and organ failure. The science is clear. THC can cause psychosis and lead to schizophrenia. It can worsen symptoms of PTSD, increase suicide risk, intensify depression and anxiety, which are two serious health issues Texas children are facing today. Any potential jobs or tax benefits from this predatory industry is overshadowed by the damage their products cause. Even Colorado has banned these synthetic THC products. Texas must do the same. Thank you. I would like to introduce my friend and fellow advocate, Shandell Strickland from Katy, Texas. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So very grateful to be here. I'm thankful for each and every one of the men and women who stand behind me in support of the Senate Bill 3. We've all heard the saying, whether we're in the airport, whether we're at a local school, whether we're at work, when you see something, you say something. And so that's why I'm here today at the Capitol to share my story with individuals who just may have not connected the dots when it comes to synthetic THC. As many have already mentioned, synthetic THC has wreaked havoc across our state. And as a mother, as a family member who's seen the tragedy firsthand, I am here to spread the news that we all need to pay attention to what is in our stores, what is in our children's hands. Synthetic THC is the issue, and it's a new age type of drug that many individuals are not aware of. I wasn't aware of it. You've heard individuals talk about psychosis. I'll tell you what experiencing psychosis is like as a mother. I had to pick up my son from a psych ward. I had to speak with a psychiatrist who explained the medication, the recovery process, and what next steps for our family would look like. From there, we spent the night in a hotel room, and for the first time in my life, I experienced being afraid of my own child. Experiencing him being in a different mental state is something that I do not want for any parent in the state of Texas.